Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm in a bit of a different setup. I don't know if this is going to be permanent, but I just wanted to change things around and kind of see how it worked. So yeah, anyway, today we have my July wrap-up, and I thought I read 4 books this month, but I actually ended up reading 5. And side note, the reason this isn't a wrap-up and an August TBR is because I go back to school next month, and I don't really know what my reading schedule is going to be. Or how many books I'm realistically going to be able to read in my free time. So I don't want to set any goals right now, but I'll just be doing a wrap-up either every month or every other month, depending on how much I read as fall comes closer. So yeah, stay tuned for that. That's just kind of an explanation for where I'm going with all this. So the first book I read this month, I actually started in early June, but I finished it early this month, and that is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. So this took me almost a month to read. I don't really remember why. I think I was just in a bit of a slump. I wasn't really in the mood to read Harry Potter, but I really did love this book. I gave it 5 stars on Goodreads. Definitely my favorite in this series so far. So even though I was in a bit of a slump while I was reading it, I think it kind of helped me get out of that. The second book I read this month was another 5-star book, and this was the book that got me out of my reading slump, like, definitively, and that was Room by Emma Donoghue. Just a brief synopsis if you don't know what this is about. It's basically a woman and her son, her 5-year-old son, are living in captivity, and it's just like them kind of like they have each other, and that's pretty much it. That's really all I want to say because I don't want to give too much away, like what it's about, because you don't necessarily know until you read it. But it's a really powerful novel. I would recommend this to everyone. It is a bit depressing, but there are some redeeming parts where it's like a positive book, and even though it is kind of a sadder theme, there are some redeeming moments where you can, not feel too depressed reading this. But this was so powerful, I would recommend it to everyone. I read this book in like a day, so absolutely loved it. And the next book I read was a 3-star book for me, which kind of sucked because I was doing so great. But this is the Carrie Diaries by Candace Bushnell, and I picked this up at Goodwill. It was kind of like an impulse buy. I have seen the television series that goes off of this book, but I didn't know it was actually a book. So when I saw this, I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. I read this book in like maybe 2 days tops. It's, I want to say 300 something pages. Yeah, it's almost 400 pages. It was pretty good. The plot was pretty good. The only thing was I didn't think there was a lot of character development in this book, and I know that there is a sequel to this, so I might check that out to see how the characters play out. But yeah, I feel like this was one of the books that I just needed to read at this time in my life. It just gave a very important message, especially for where I am in my life. So I did like that. It was a good plot, but it wasn't anything too extraordinary for me. And then the 4th book I read this month was the 4th book in the Harry Potter series. Of course, that is Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. This book, it was really good. I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads. I didn't love it as much as Prisoner of Azkaban. This did take me a little longer to read, obviously, because it's a longer book. But I didn't enjoy the beginning of this as much, like when we're at the, what is it? The Quidditch World Cup. But I loved this a lot more towards the end, once we were getting into the tasks, that sort of thing. I will be filming a full review of this and posting that, of course, to my Harry Potter playlist, so be on the lookout for that. And the last book I read this month. It infuriated me. It made me so sad that I ended my month on a low note, but everybody on BookTube, everyone and their mother, praises this book. They love it. They think it's the best thing ever. And that is Night Film by Marisha Pessl. I went into this really hoping to love it because I know a lot of people I've talked to on BookTube, a lot of videos I've watched, everyone praises this book. And I was really looking forward to it. It is almost a 600-page book, so I wasn't sure I would finish it quickly, but I did. I finished it in maybe, I want to say 4 days tops. That was about how long it took me. And I gave this book 2 stars, which I was really reluctant to do because that's the same rating I gave Me Before You. But I gave this book 2 stars for a different reason. So, okay, the thing about this book, I really loved the beginning. I was like hooked from the start, but then as the book went on, I just became increasingly bored. I found myself hating the narrator, our protagonist, Scott McGrath. I despised him. And I know that you can still appreciate and love a book even if you don't like the main character or the narrator, but he really turned me off from this book. There were some parts where I thought there was character development on his behalf, and then it just like got washed away. I thought two of the other main characters, Nora and Hopper, were very stereotypical. They didn't have a lot of development. I didn't feel like I really knew them. So yeah, that was an issue with this book. The redeeming quality of this book, at least for me, was the message it gave. There were a lot of great literary devices that Marisha Pessl used, and I was able to pick those out like on a very analytical level. So I liked this book as a work of literature, but not as a plot-based story. I thought it could have been reduced to like 300 pages, maybe 400 pages tops. It was just way too long for the message I think that Pessl wanted to give. I wasn't satisfied with the ending. Like, I think it was a good ending. I'm not going to tell you what it was, but we could have gotten there so much quicker with a lot less plot. And it just, I don't know. Maybe someone else feels this way too. Let me know down below if you read this book and you weren't as big of a fan. But yeah, this book just really pissed me off. When I was done with it, I was just like, thank goodness I am over this book. I don't have to read it anymore. The only reason I finished it was because I wanted to know what the end was. And even then I was like, Then there was like, I don't know, the end, one aspect of the end was great. It was like a pretty good ending, I would say. But then the other ending, it's like two endings. I was just like, if you've read this, you know what I'm talking about. I was just like, you faked me out. 2 stars. I was close to giving it 1 star, but it's a good work of literature, and that is what its redeeming quality was. So yeah, those are all the books I read this month. I hope you enjoyed watching this. Be sure to give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see what I have to say in the future. Bye guys.